Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today we're going to be talking about Izoni in deck number 345. Now, Izoni is we are back in Ravnica, people. Lot of specific mana pips on cost, but meh, it's alright. He's a 2/3 for 6 mana. Wow. I don't know that this guy will ever see any play in formats other than ours, but he creates a whole bunch of insects, which is kind of weird for an elf shaman, but it's all good. You can sack another creature to gain a life and draw a card, which more than likely we're going to be sacking those insects. Now, he does have a. I read him and I thought, well, elves. He's an elf. She, I don't know. But it's an elf. Black-green elves, which I guess we have a rise, a Reese, and I built tribal elves, so golgari elves. I didn't use many rocks. I mean, I used the 3 simply because this is elves and we've got mana fixing. I mean, gosh, Llanowar. The Queer Elves is perfect for this. You choose black and you've got a dual elf here. Of course, Birchlore Rangers is going to turn all your elves into, half mana elves. The Mystic. Llanowar Dead from Apocalypse. This doesn't see a whole lot of play, but I mean, it's pretty decent. The Land Fetching Elves. Farhaven Elf. Civic Wayfinder. Emissary. Ranger. Now, I'm counting the Blight Soil Druid as elf or as a mana production because, well, it does. It costs a little more. But let me tell you, when you're talking Golgari and a mana elf, this is the card. Now, Elves of Deep Shadow, of course, got a reprint in original Ravnica, but this, From the Dark, this was the first card that I saw. Now, I was new to the game, and I looked at it and I went, is this a photograph? It seriously looks like a photograph that's been put through some kind of filter. But no, Jesper Murfars, this is why I really think Jesper Murfars, everything he did for the game is amazing. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't Jesper Murfars the one that did the art for the back of the card? Pretty sure. Anyway, that's our mana elves. Of course, we got elves that get bigger when you play elves, the Elvish Vanguard, Elf Mom, and the new Pelt Collector. I like the Pelt Collector because it's enters or dies. It's another creature. It doesn't have to be an elf, so you ain't got to go the tribal route. But the creature's got to have power bigger than his. So, I don't think this is going to be as useful as we think, but it might be. Then, of course, what we got, I like to call removal elves. This guy's the Rex Sage, the Shaman, and Jagged Scar. Then we got our team helping elves. The Tree Speaker, this is not bad. Now, granted, level up is such a... I think level up would have actually mattered if you could have done it if that last line, only as a sorcerer, was not there. And you could just spend your mana at the end, which for this and some of the other would have been fine. But your blue ones, that double turn guide, that would have been insane. So I get it. Everybody pays for the crimes of blue anyway. Of course, the Clan Caller is just a +1/+1. I mean, it's not. By the way, there are a couple of cards I wish I had for this deck. Izuri. just plain old Izoni would have been amazing because the amount of mana that this deck can generate, if I had another Izoni, I just really don't want to buy another copy of that Dual Decks. Jiraga Warcaller, a pretty good way to spend you some mana. Of course, the Elvish Archdruid and the Imperious Perfect to make some more tokens. Now, this is an elf sorcery. It looks like a creature. I mean, it's got power and toughness, and it's got a creature type. But I've never cast this thing. I mean, this is an elf sorcery. Because yes, you can cycle at instant speed, but you're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to do this before you attack. So that's why I consider it kind of an elf sorcery. Now, Thornwheeled Archer is just a good dude anyway. Excellent blocker, reach and death touch. Hunter of Eye Blights. I really like this because +1/+1 counters is a favorite theme in our format. So I kind of dig it. And it plays in an area that not a lot of cards play in. Of course, the buy one, get one free elf. The aforementioned Rice. Because this actually works with our commander quite a bit because you sack an elf to regenerate him. So anything that we can do. I don't really have an infinite combo. This is what I do. Elves die. I mean, that's what they do. People are not going to let an elf deck unchecked. If they do, hey, that's fine too. We'll just overrun them with elves. But it's an elf deck. People are going to kill it. And just by playing the game, our commander gets better. The Scarblade. Here again, it puts an elf into the yard. So you discard an elf to... He probably should have been in the removal elves section. But, of course, Elvish Visionary is just there to draw you a card. Deadbridge Chant. Perfect elf to sacrifice. Gnarlroot Trapper. Only to cast elf creatures. And, it passes out the Death Touch. Oblight Assassin. -1/-1 counters. Now, Thorn Lieutenant is one of our, good mana sinks, as well as the Golgari Guild Mage. It's just going to put a... Now, granted, yes, that is an overpriced counter, 5 mana, but when you've got the crazy amount of mana that we're probably going to end up with, 5 is fine. Now, let's get into the gold elves. We can't really seriously have a Golgari elf deck without my girl here, Glissa. She's just amazing. Yeah, this probably makes me... I should probably playing, because she gets the artifact back. I should probably be playing with the locket, because the locket does draw us 2 cards. I mean, we've got some of the others here, but yeah, I need to swap out something with the locket, one of those artifacts, because she don't get a whole lot of stuff back. We don't have a whole lot of artifacts, but the one specifically we care a lot about. Of course, we have Gerard. You sack another creature, so he fills up the graveyard for Izoni. And, it's a really good, oh, you're going to kill my chick? Well, let me just sack her, and I'll sack this elf mom, and you'll lose that much life. Shaman of the Pack just wins games by itself. Just comes down, poop, I got 14 elves. Poison Tip Archer, reach and death touch, and another creature dies, each opponent loses a life. Okay, this is a 2/3, which is the same stats as our general, for 2 specific mana less. It's uncommon. I guess that's the difference here. Like I said, a lot of pips in GRN. You return a permanent. This is going to get back our artifact again. Underrealm Lich is Zombie Elf Shaman Mythic now. and it fills up your graveyard. Of course, you can pay 4 life to make it bigger. Swarm Guild Mage. All the abilities require tapping, so there's no mana dump here, but +1 in Menace is not bad. The Assassin. We need to try to see if I can't. The glare is upsetting me. It's got the Death Touch and the Lure. And if you can make this thing bigger, which obviously is the plan, this is how we're going to get through. And then we're just going to try to keep getting it back. Now, let's look at some removal, because obviously Golgari is king of the removal guilds. Now, I'm not running the trophy. I figured I was running enough that I didn't need the trophy. I pulled that sweet, sweet foil trophy too, so I kind of won the lottery with that box. We're going to roll through a lot of these pretty quick. Of course, we got Lignify, Beast Within, Doomblade, Murder, Putrefy. I am running the Oblight's Ending simply because I think it's flavor. It's black. It kills anything but an elf. Which some of our guys don't seem to mind. Don't ask Rice. Tragic Slip I almost took out, but then, you know, I'm sacrificing creatures. The whole thing is elves dying. Skull Clamp would be amazing in this deck, by the way, with those insects. Yeah, Skull Clamp. I guess I know where the next Skull Clamp I'm getting is going. Of course, Windgrace's Judgment, there's no reason to not to. Deglamor, I love me some Deglamor because the graveyard is our second hand. I mean, it's like almost every deck can interact with the graveyard or use cards in the graveyard or whatnot. Deglamor just shuffles it in. Shuffle it in. I don't care if it's indestructible. Shuffle it in. Oblight Massacre, same thing here. Now, this is going to kill our little insects, but I don't think we really care if we're to the point where we got to give everything -2, -2. Back to nature. If you'll notice, there's no enchantments in this deck. Not a single one. So I was trying to use elves that had, you know, enchantment-like abilities, and every time I tried to put an enchantment in, I was like, well, there's an elf that does that. And I'd rather have the body. So I was like, well, I'll run back to nature because enchantments are a thing now. Gaze of Granite, for when you absolutely, positively have to kill every... Anyway. And, of course, Plague Wind. Now, Plague Wind in Golgari Elves is kind of a thing of mine back in original Ravnica. That was way back. I actually played Standard. That was right around the time I actually found EDH, but I had a green-black elf deck that just did nothing but produce mana, and I had 2 cards for my win condition. I would Plague Wind and then Biorhythm. GG. Anyway, I've got some other cards. Harmonize is going to draw me some cards, and of course, Altar's Reap. We, you know, sack a creature. This is kind of what we want to do. Gerard's Order is double tutor. 1 to the hand, and actually not really double tutor because we're not using a whole bunch. We're just beefing the graveyard, you know. Overrun. Overrun is, I mean, it's integral to an elf deck, obviously. But Ashnod's Altar. Ashnod's Altar is where we're going to be putting. And this is why I'm saying I just don't think I have enough mana dumps. The Skull Clamp would be pretty good, but, I mean, that would, once you get the Altar and the Skull Clamp, that would pretty much be critical mass. You would need to win pretty quick, and we don't really have a whole lot of ways beyond Concordant Crossroads to give them haste. So, but my favorite card, last non-land card from the deck, is Songs of the Damned. Now, been around since Ice Age, obviously, but this is the deck for it. Oh my gosh. Songs of the Damned. I mean, it's a super ritual for this deck. And to be honest with you, it was the first card that I thought of when I saw Izoni. I was like, whoa, Songs of Den would be awesome here. Because the whole idea is to have a bunch of stuff in your graveyard. But now that I think about it, I don't know why I don't play this more in more black decks. Because that's just by playing the game, we're going to be putting creatures into the graveyard. And really, kinda, it costs 1 mana. So in order to justify this over a dark ritual, you need 3 creatures in the graveyard. Well, not really to justify. Yeah, you need 3 creatures in the graveyard, and that makes it exactly dark ritual. However, with the possibility of being more. If you draw it early, it's liable to be a blank card. But in this deck, you're building up a graveyard. So I like it. I think it's definitely worth playing. It's one of my old picks that I. Okay, let's go through some non-basic lands now. Let's get let's see, our cyclers. Oh, new sleeves, and the air in them is like, the Tranquil and the Baron is the. Now, the Grim Backwoods fits perfect. I mean, you're sacking creatures, drawing cards. This is what we want to do. The duels, of course, the Foul Orchard, the Guild Gate. Now, Rot Farm, I play a lot of these original bounce lands because, well, it's another dual land. And it may or may not set you, depending on the tempo of the deck. You're not really up a lot. Yes, you're up. You're down 1 turn, you're up the next, but over the long haul, it's still 1 land for 2 mana. But the reason why I particularly like it in black decks is because you get to bounce a land. Now, most people read it as you have to bounce a land, but no, you get to. So, obviously, the land you want to bounce is Bojuka Bog. Because, like we said, graveyards are a second hand now. And now, it is a sorcery speed wipe out one person's graveyard, but maybe you can hit another usage if you get that the bounce land. Of course, the Jungle Hollow, Evolving Wilds. I did manage to pull an Overgrown Tomb out of my box. Rogue's Passage, because y'all know I bought 500 of them. And Ancient Ziggurat. Now, I don't use Ancient Ziggurat a whole lot because it's just creatures, but our high concentration of creatures kind of makes it worthwhile. Transguild Promenade, because the enemy colors don't have as many duels as the friendly colors. So this, yeah, it totally sucks paying the 1. We do have a new guild or a gate version of this, but it's one that I use when I don't have enough duels. I feel like I don't have enough duels of a specific color, and also obviously in 3+ color decks. Last is, this just makes a big dude, and it's exactly what we want to do. It counts creatures in the graveyard. It's still a land. It becomes, it's the threat that they don't perceive it as a threat initially because, you're playing it, you're using it for mana or whatever. All the rest we got is, swamps and forests. But that's what I've got for Izoni. There's a few things that I would like to do. I do need that Azuri and probably the I went blank the name of that artifact. Anyway, it's early in the morning right now. I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think. But right now, we're going to shuffle and cut.